Awid folk, my name is the Meta Goblin, and today we're going to be counting down 5 more things that Oblivion did better than Skyrim. I thought I'd, make this video to celebrate the fact that my original video has just, gone over 1 million views, which is just completely mental. I don't think a lot of people know how that video came about. You see, about the time that I uploaded that video, I was uploading very different content to that video. I was uploading like World of Warcraft guides and stuff, and I thought I'd just make the video for a laugh, just to see what happens. I'm very passionate about the game. I thought I'd just make the video for a laugh, see what would happen. And I never expected it to get any views. I mean, in fact, it had about 200 views. Got that in like the first day, and then it was like that for a good solid 4 months. And then, since then it's blew up quite a bit. And it's essentially just changed the direction of my channel. It's changed my kind of content, and it's definitely helped my channel grow quite a lot. But anyway, as always, remember when you're watching these videos, remember I'm not explicitly saying that Oblivion is better than Skyrim. We're just looking at specific things that may have made people prefer Oblivion over Skyrim. So let's jump in, right? The first thing I want to talk about is the fame mechanic in Oblivion, which I missed out the last video. You may be thinking, what the hell is the fame mechanic? You may have even played Oblivion and you still don't know what it is. This is a mechanic in the game that you had to actually learn about from reading an instruction manual. There's no tutorials in game telling you about how fame worked. You had to get out the instruction manual and actually read something in the 21st century. Can you believe that? Basically, it was a measure of how famous you are and how notorious you are, so how evilly famous you are, because there was an infamy stat to counteract the fame as well. There's 2 stats working against each other. You would gain fame by completing quests, like for instance participating in the arena. Becoming Grand Champion of the arena would make you very, very famous, and people would actually start recognizing you in the streets. I mean, it really felt like the world of Oblivion was changing depending on your actions, and basically you don't get a lot of that in Skyrim, unfortunately. You got a few things like in Skyrim when you had certain skills very high, the guards would say things, but I wasn't, it's not kind of the same thing. I mean, certain quests only became available with a certain fame stat, so you'd have to get famous. Someone would approach you in the street and say, hey, I know you, you're pretty famous, can you help me out with this situation? I mean, also another thing, like the general public like you more. There's a stat like the disposition stat. Basically everyone starts at like a certain stat, and you have to raise that stat by using the persuasion mini game, and if you are famous, that disposition stat will be higher depending on how famous you are. So people just like you because you're more famous, which is another cool thing. And then if you had a high infamy stat, then people would start to actually dislike you. People would know that you're evil. It's kind of like how it works in Fable and Fable, I don't think any other game really does it. But things like evil characters in the game would actually like you more if you were more famously evil, if you had the high infamy stat, which is another cool thing. It also, it worked as a good and evil mechanic. I mean, you couldn't access certain shrines, like the way shrines, pray to the gods to cure your diseases if your infamy was higher than your fame, It's just like a small thing in the game which made it feel more like an RPG. For number 2, I'm going to talk about mini factions which weren't really in Skyrim, but there's actually quite a lot of them in Oblivion. Like for instance, did you know there's actually a vampire hunting faction in Oblivion? I don't think a lot of people have acknowledged that. So, you had your main factions in Skyrim and Oblivion, but in Skyrim you didn't have anything else, any small kind of faction. You kind of did now and again, but wasn't really fleshed out enough like it is in Oblivion. You have a lot of mini factions in Oblivion. Normally they begin with this long quest line, and then you complete the quest line, and then after that you get mini objectives. Like for instance, when you became a proper vampire slayer, I think it was called the Order of the Virtuous Blood, so they go around killing vampires. If you gave them vampire dust, they'd give you money for vampire dust. It's just a small thing. But it made, just made the game a little bit more interesting. It made the game feel like there was more factions and more people out there. For number 3, I want to talk about enchanting, specifically weapon enchanting. Now I do agree that the fact that enchanting was a skill in Skyrim was definitely a lot better in Skyrim than Oblivion. There you go, I said something good about Skyrim. But in Oblivion you could customize your weapon chants a lot more. It made things a lot more interesting. you can combine very cool effects together, like for instance, you know, certain creatures would be resistant to certain damage. So if you had a weapon that did fire, frost and shock damage all at the same time in one big whammy, there, you know, it was happy days. You could also change the duration, like say for instance, right, you hit this sword and then it's going to put a dot on that target for like 5 seconds, so you could like hit one target, put a dot on it, hit another, it keeps smacking people around and like, you know, spread dots. That was a cool thing. You could also increase the area of effect. So, you know, you'd hit like one dude with a little dagger and then it would blow up an entire town of people with fire and electricity and other cool stuff. And you could even do, you know, you could even do really stupid daft stuff like when you smack someone with a dagger, it would actually heal them. You know, there's a lot of stupid stuff like that as well, which just made the game a little bit fun and interesting. Now, for number 4, I'm going to I'm going to sound like a bloody old man, and I don't really care. Because I'm going to talk about the map. In Skyrim, I personally just think the map and interface is ridiculous. It feels like I'm in some kind of sci-fi game or something. You know, I feel like God looking down on the world. It's just daft. I don't get it. But in Oblivion, it feels like, you know, you just got out a piece of parchment from your backpack, and you're looking at a map, and you're drawing on it when you discover a location. You know, that's what it feels like. But in Skyrim, it just doesn't at all. I mean, it doesn't feel like the map in Skyrim really feels like it belongs in a role-playing game at all. It feels like it should be in a sci-fi game or a game like that. But there you go, there's my old man moment over. For number 5, I'm going to quickly talk about the music. I don't think that Skyrim's music was bad at all. It did really, you know, did a good job at creating that good Viking fantasy feeling to the game, but sometimes I felt it was just a little bit too much at times. And that, you know, in Oblivion you have a lot more chilled out role-playing kind of music. It really feels like you're in a medieval fantasy world, and I think Skyrim just needed a little bit more of that style of music to make the game a little bit more immersive. Anyway, lads and lasses, you're probably going to see a few videos on the screen right now or very soon, with videos, links to videos very similar to this one. There's also a video link in the description, which will, you know, bring you a big library of my videos if you want to have a bit of a rummage through there. My name is the Metagoblin. Until my next video, ciao.